It's that time of the year already. EA's doing tinkering with the game. They're changing things. They're not telling us about it, and somehow they think we're not going to notice. Like, we don't play their game for hours and hours on end, or at least some of us do, and we notice these things right away. So it seems like every day, every other day, I'm making a new update type video. What's coming in an update, the actual update itself, and then like the fallout of the update. And that's kind of one of those videos we're doing today. It's kind of a fallout from the last update or two that came last week, and we're starting to notice a lot of changes with the game that were not mentioned in those patch notes. We're going to talk about that today. Hey, if you're new to the channel though, we do this almost every day, maybe every other day. If you want to be up to date with all the latest Madden news, stuff like that, we got a new NFL 2K game coming out next year as well, so if you want to be updated on what's going on with that, when we get more news about that, again, subscribe, bell icon on, so you don't miss any of these important uploads. Now, this game has been just updated every week, time and time again. We already know Madden 21 current gen has been a mess. Probably one of the worst Maddens, at least from like a technical problem, glitch, bug standpoint in a while, right? Last few years of Madden haven't been the greatest. We all know that. Some years better than others. I still think 21, at least right now, I think it's better than the last couple years. I was still having fun on it, but this last update, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about things that have changed, and I've noticed them myself. You noticed it right away because we play this game so much. We know when you change something, EA. You can't sneak things in there. And we've kind of always had this myth or this conspiracy that, after you get about a month or two into the game, things sometimes they seem to get easier, right? Like, it seems like they start adjusting the game for the masses, and it's like, hey, what are the masses having trouble with? Are they having trouble on defense? Are they having trouble running the ball? Whatever. Are they having trouble? Are they throwing too many interceptions, right? Things just get secretly adjusted, and it's always right after an update comes out. Now, sometimes we think, hey, maybe this was just an accident, right? Sometimes things accidentally get affected in an update. Things break, or things get easier, things get harder. We've seen that happen time and time again. But more and more, I think a lot of us are starting to feel like EA is actually purposely doing some of these things, making these changes, and just not telling us about it because they know the vocal minority, whether you're for Madden or against it, right? The vocal minority is going to let you know every time, hey, you're not updating this enough, right? Like the franchise guys, hey, you're not updating this enough, the mode is trash, you're not giving us any love, and you're going to hear it from us every day. Then there's the other vocal minority, which are the people that are more like the hardcore online guys. When something changes, they say, hey, you changed this, we didn't ask for this to be changed, why did you change this? You made it worse. A good example is when they changed the QB slide, which they're now talking about possibly reverting back. We all got mad instantly. Why did you change the QB slide? It was good before, now it's bad. But there's also the secret things that they don't tell us about, and we immediately know is different. And let's talk about that. So number one, QB windups are definitely a thing again. Like the over exaggerated QB windups that we hated about Madden 20. One of the things we universally as gamers of Madden said, we don't like how just ridiculously long you have to wind up to throw. It was a little bit more understandable on deeper passes, of course, but it was exaggerated even on short passes. And that has been changed, or it was changed when the game dropped, right? Windups were a lot better, they were still a little bit longer than in years past, but they weren't nearly as crazy as Madden 20, and we liked that change. We said, hey, we can throw these short passes, kind of get the ball out of there, zip the ball out, and it was nice. That has seemed to be reverted back in this last patch, and we're all noticing it. You can't sneak that in the game. We're going to know when QBs aren't releasing the ball as fast as they used to, right? At first, we were noticing it with certain players, and we're like, oh, because sometimes an Ultimate Team, you'll notice, a player just suddenly gets worse. And usually that means they're about to put out a new player, right? Oh, this player suddenly is playing worse. Now you're going to want to upgrade to the new player, right? Another kind of conspiracy thing we think happens. We don't know for sure. But with this, we started noticing, hey, it's every player. Their windups are crazy long. Why would they change that? Well, defense has been hard for a lot of people this year. And honestly, defense is actually pretty easy if you know what you're doing. It's really mindless this year. You just play man defense, get yourself some bench press cornerbacks, use the right formations and get good pass rush, right? Throw you a couple of little cloud flats on the field or your curl flats, and use of the middle. You're going to have pretty decent defense against the majority of people that don't really know how to go that extra step to just completely destroy man defense. Zone defense, however, is pretty bad this year, but a lot of people jump online. They just want to play the same zone defense they've played every year. They don't want to make a lot of adjustments, and they're like, why can't I stop people, right? I can't stop people this year, and we've heard that all year. But like I said, if you know what you're doing, defense really actually, it's easier to play defense, I would say, right now than offense. If you truly know what you're doing, it's very easy, and it's boring. It's just playing man with a couple little adjustments, but it works, I would say, on at least 80, 85, maybe even 90% of people you're going to run up against. But there's a lot of casual players that play the game, and they don't know that, and they're having trouble playing defense. So what do? Okay, we're gonna slow the windups back down to make it a little bit harder to pass the ball. And then guess what happens when they slow the windups down? Now what are people doing? They're going back to the Madden 20 ways, and we're starting to see the run, which also seems to have been buffed. Right? We didn't need a run buff. The run was easy enough last year. Now, the run was always good in Madden 21. Don't get me wrong. It was not nearly as nerfed as some people might act like it was. In the beginning, I thought it was nerfed a good bit. The more after playing, I was like, oh no, the run's still pretty good, but it wasn't still nearly as bad as 20. Well, now all of a sudden, it's seeming like the run is a lot harder to stop. It seems like it's a little bit closer, not quite as bad, but closer to Madden 20 than it has been. But another side of that is I think a lot of people are going back to running the ball because of what EA continues to do to nerf passing, and that's the same thing they were doing last year when we said, hey, don't nerf passing. Like, we want more variety in the game. A lot of people were passing this year because unless you knew what you were doing on defense, it was, it's a lot harder to use, or it's harder to get stops, so you could throw the ball around more, and passing is typically more fun than running. But what they've done lately, right? They've changed some of the abilities that beat man defense well. They've made them more ability points. That discourages people from passing. They've completely taken motion hiking or motion snapping out of the game for certain formations. Some of the good formations, which was a terrible band-aid fix that we've talked about multiple times. That's making people not want to pass now, because if you're going to make it harder to pass, then people are just going to go to what's easy, which is running. And it just seems like run defense is playing a lot worse than it was in the first few months of the game. Now, I don't know if that's a placebo effect because of the fact that more people are just now choosing to run because of the things they're doing to make passing worse, when passing was pretty fine as a result, or overall. But that's just, the game is now changing and going back more to that Madden 20 style of just boring play that we didn't like. Dropped interceptions are at the all-time worst. Like, whenever people complain that there's too many interceptions in Madden, I feel like you're playing a different game. Dropped interceptions right now could not be worse. They are awful. I'm talking wide open in your hands. Boom, they're just being dropped. The drop passes on offense still seem to be a bit of a problem. Not as bad as they were when the bug was existing like a week or two ago, but they don't seem completely fixed. It just seems like whenever all of these things change about the game, all we can think is, hey, they're just trying to make it easier for everybody to be on the same playing field. And if that's the case, I don't think they're ever going to come out and say that. I think we would like them to come out and say that, because then we would just say, okay, at least we know. At least you said it. I don't think they're ever going to come out and say that, but that's what they want, right? A lot of these things that seem like problems, we're starting to think that that's just what they intend the game to play like. And again, if that's what they intend it to play like, fine. But it's the idea that it's not intended to play that way. Like, that's how they kind of approach it, it seems like. And then that's what frustrates us, because we don't truly know. Dropped interceptions are crazy. Like I said, QB windups are back and awful. The run seems a lot easier than it had been. You can't motion snap anymore. The contains are broken for the millionth year in a row. They're just always broken in a different way. The disengage contain blitz is still a thing. They tried to fix it a few patches ago. I think it's gotten worse, where you can get the contains to literally disengage if they rush the middle, and like the blocker will touch them for a second, and then it's a disengage blitz. They just let them go and they run right through the line. The last couple years it was contains off the edge. Now it's contains literally through the middle of the line. I wouldn't be surprised if they remove contains eventually. Like a fundamental aspect of football, I just would not be surprised if they removed them completely, because they literally cannot get them right. Don't know why. Look, I'm not a video game programmer. I don't know how difficult it is, but they can't get it right. They're always broken and being used as an exploit to get to the quarterback quicker, by evading blockers when blockers should be able to put hands on them. It's just getting be a bit ridiculous. So the game has changed in a lot of ways. We've noticed it immediately. I don't know if they think we wouldn't notice it, but the game has completely shifted. It's starting to turn a lot more into what Madden 20 was. Again, I don't think it's quite as bad as 20 yet. I'm not going to go overboard, but it seems like it's going in that direction. And at the end of the day, I think the tinkering with the gameplay stuff is something we don't like, and they continue to do it more and more every year. The obvious bugs and glitches, the game-breaking stuff, right? When the screen was turning white, which, by the way, seems to be back and happening again. So that's still not completely fixed, lines missing on the field, stuff like that. Of course, you go in there and you fix that, because that is game-breaking. But when you start tinkering too much with the gameplay, this happens every year, where a month or two into the game completely changes. It gets worse. It starts reverting back to old ways. And it's like, they don't just kind of stick to the product they put out there and just try to make the smart, completely glitched out bugs go away. They start tinkering too much. They're hearing too much feedback from every, corner. And they just tinker too much. And then they wind up making the game just easier, more dumbed down. And then people just start getting frustrated with it. So, I don't know. The state of Madden 21... it's starting to, I was having a lot of fun with 21. I think a lot of people were. Like, it depends on which side you are. And again, if you're an offline type guy, you weren't having fun probably. But if you were online, a lot of us were liking the way the game was playing outside of a few key things. Now it seems like a week or two later, no, I don't know anybody that's having fun right now. So, you know, take for that what you will. We got next gen right around the corner. I don't know how much different or better that could potentially be, but right now 21 not in good shape. Stop changing the game so much, EA. It's just not necessary. Stop tinkering. Fix the glitches. Stop tinkering too much, because we end up in the same cycle every year. But that's it for today. Just wanted to get this video out. What do you guys think below? Have you noticed any of these changes? Drop them below. As always, I will see you guys next time.